Hello, it's Saturday, May 31st, and I just got home from Congresswoman Maxine Dexter's town hall in Gresham, Oregon, and I want to tell you how it went. I think I've been to pretty much every single town hall that Maxine has had since she took office in January, including the telephone town halls. And in that time, I have watched her consistently, progressively become more outspoken, more courageous, make bigger, bolder statements, and take more actions. If you're not from my part of Oregon, you may not be aware of the fact that Dr. Dexter is one of the 4 representatives from Congress who flew to El Salvador on their own dime to advocate for the freedom for Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the other migrants who are trapped in the torture gulag known as cant. I really watched Dr. Dexter find her voice and her courage, and the way that she is advocating for Oregonians and for the American people, for the rule of law, for democracy, and for human dignity is something that makes me really glad that I voted for her and makes me really glad to have her representing us in Congress. I know folks often say, Angela, you should run for Congress. No, I have a Congresswoman who's doing a really good job. My role is to be an active constituent, not only pushing my Congresswoman when I think she needs to do more, but also giving her positive feedback when she is doing the right things. And then obviously also to talk up the good things that she's doing. I actually got to ask a question at the town hall today. Her town halls rely on a ticket system. And I was the second question called. I've never had my ticket pulled ever. And let me just say, if you were there, you watched the recording, the feedback on that microphone was so bad. I could not understand a single thing I was saying into the mic. I got halfway through a word and it would bounce back right in my face. It was very hard to speak, so I was a little bit clumsy. The worst feedback I've ever had talking into a mic, and I'm grateful that the Congresswoman could understand what I was saying. At our town halls here, there usually are so many people in attendance that folks can't just raise their hand, so they use a ticket system. When your ticket gets pulled, you get 90 seconds to stand up and ask your question. So here was mine. I said, the people want to know what more we can do. What can we, the people, do to partner better with our pro-democracy members of Congress so you can be more effective in slowing down and stopping the cruelty and chaos of this regime? What steps do you, Dr. Dexter, think Congress should be taking? And what concrete actions from us, the people, would be the most impactful for you right now? Because we aren't passive in our none of us can afford to be passive right now. None of us can afford to be complacent. We have an obligation. We have a civic duty to make sure that we are defending democracy. And I know that a lot of electeds are not this way, but Congresswoman Dexter is. She very much takes her cues from her constituents. Her desire is to represent her district. And so she really relies on feedback from us. In fact, she said that multiple times at the town hall today, how important it is that we email her, we call her, we let her know what's on our mind, whether it is positive reinforcement for the things that she's doing, whether it's criticism, whether it's ways that we can urge her to do more. She wants to hear it. So your representatives in Congress are supposed to be keeping a tally of calls that come in from constituents on various issues. I know that a lot of Republicans keep their voicemails full. They don't answer the phone. They don't respond to emails. I don't know that they're doing that. If they're not, then they are derelict in their duty as your representative. But Maxine does do that, and her aides are lovely to talk to. But even if you just get the answering machine, leave a quick 15, 30-second comment. It can just be really quick, vote no on this bill. Or it can be, we need a government that is fiscally responsible, and the reconciliation bill is going to increase our debt ceiling $4.3 trillion. That's not responsible. We cannot allow that to happen. That's it. That's all you have to say. She takes tallies of all that so she can go to her colleagues. She can go to her colleagues in her own party, leadership in her party, but she can also go across the aisle to Republicans and say, look, I got 1,000 calls about this week. People are pissed. The American people do not want this. Or when she takes action, her own leadership can be like, what the hell are you doing? And she can be like, oh, no. I had 1,200 calls from my constituents urging me to do this thing. I have their backing. I am doing my job as their Congresswoman. So it's really, really important that you give your electeds feedback. And it's so important to remember that what we need is solidarity everywhere right now. We all need to be partnering with each other. We need to be holding the line together. And so that's why I asked that question, because I really want us as constituents to understand that we need a partnership with our elected officials, at least the ones who are willing to defend democracy. How can we help them help us? How can we work together to empower each other and be more effective? Because our electeds in Congress, they are our public servants. They work for us. They're not going to be our saviors. But there are things they can do to slow down the horrible things that Trump is doing, and buying us time is really important. And there are ways they can be successful at stopping some of what he's doing. And so we need to know how we can help them be more effective in grinding all of this to a halt and ultimately stopping it altogether. Unfortunately, Dr. Dexter didn't get to fully answer my question because there were hecklers, and I'll talk about that in the next video. But she did manage to make 2 points. The first one was we have to have stronger community. It's really, really important right now that we learn to reform those bonds. We learn how to connect with each other because our strength comes in our solidarity. Having solidarity is so incredibly important right now, not only because when we have, a mass coalition of millions of people, that's where we find our strength and where we build those muscles to push back against what Trump is doing and ultimately stop him. Right, the ultimate goal of mass solidarity to stop what Trump is doing, really, really important. But there's another layer to that as well. Our power really comes on a hyper-local level. The place that we have the most impact is right outside our door, right? I love to say bloom where you're planted. The place, our sphere of influence, where we have the largest ability to make a real difference is right outside our back door, right in our own neighborhoods. And the pandemic and other things have really fractured our community, and it's really fractured our ability to lean on each other. We're very isolated as people here in America. And so we have to learn to forge those connections again, not only so that we can come together to stop this awfulness, but also so that we can better defend each other. When ICE comes for our neighbors, we need to all turn out. There was a story from earlier this week where ICE tried to come into a community and all of the neighbors poured out into the streets, and ICE couldn't really get their job done. They ultimately left without kidnapping those members of the neighborhood. A mass showing of nonviolent resistance, a mass showing of the people, that is enough to stop a lot of what these cowards are doing. And so we've got to build this connection so we can protect vulnerable members of our community. Maybe it's something like defending them against ICE, but maybe it's building mutual aid networks to make sure that children are being fed right now, that our elders are being cared for right now. The second thing that she said is that we need people to be really loud. We need people not to lose faith, not to lose their anger, to hold on to their anger and to use it. She wants folks to share it with her. So like I said earlier, she can use that anger from her constituents to push her harder, to give her more power and more justification for standing up stronger. But also, we need to not get complacent. We need to not be fearful and put our heads in the sand and pretend that all of this is just going to go away or just ignore it. We need to be loud. We need to be vocal so that we are communicating to our neighbors. We are making sure that we are not allowing the things of the Trump regime to be normalized, that we are witnessing what is happening, and that we are speaking truth to power. That's all really, really crucial right now. And I completely agree with her. I've been getting a lot of comments lately where people are like, oh, Angela, I'm afraid for you because you're speaking out and because MAGA are really emboldened. And, I have this young man who's been threatening me. He still calls multiple times a week. I don't pick up the phone, but he still calls me multiple times a week. He stopped sending pizzas to my house, thank God, because it was just a giant waste of time for those delivery drivers who I know are already making minimum wage. But we can't be threatened. We can't be intimidated. We cannot allow our fear to rule us right now. We have got to stand strong. We've got to hold the line and not cede any of our rights. We do not comply in advance. If you fold, if you give up your rights, if you become afraid, if you become timid and you hide in the background and just let this regime roll on through, I want you to understand you will not be protected. There is no amount of appeasement that you can engage in that will make you safe from a fascist regime. We all have to find our courage and stand up because that's the only way we're actually going to be safe. The only way we find safety is standing up together as a unit. So I'm not going to back down. I know Dr. Dexter's not going to back down. I am emboldened and encouraged by the fact that more and more people are standing up and being loud. For example, I'm just going to shamelessly plug June 14th is No King's Day. There are protests all around this country where millions and millions of people will be standing up. It's not that we're unafraid, it's that we know there is no other option, right? Speak even though your voice shakes. You have every right to be scared, but don't give up your rights in the face of that fear. That's what they're counting on. Bullies work on intimidation. They are trying to get you to give up because they know that they are weak and all they have are threats. And they know the more that we stand up, the more we're loud, we're proud, we're pushing back, the more quickly that they are going to topple. So I appreciated those 2 points from Dr. Dexter, and I want to talk about the rest of the town hall in a minute.